2024 has been taken out back and shot. Welcome again to another Point in Progress Games of the Year. I'm in a new apartment. Everything sounds a little echoey. I'm also sick, so I sound like shit. But hey, I can't believe another year has gone by, man. It's been a wild one for me personally, and I gotta say, being an adult really fucking sucks sometimes. But you know what? You can't keep a motherfucker down. And of course, I had the opportunity to play some amazing new titles this year and dig into the old backlog to revisit some titles that I've been meaning to get back to. My thing this year was doing like completionist runs on my Steam profile to like get all the achievements and stuff so I could put it on my profile. Look cool. I don't care. It was for me anyway. I did want to mention, while the year saw some amazing titles be released, the year also saw some devastating losses. Many studios were either shut down or massively downsized, and many employees were and still are left without work today. We lost a lot of great teams that brought us some of the best stories and works of art gaming has ever seen, and the ripple of their shutdowns and departures will be felt for a very long time. I honestly hope a lot of those people get back on their feet. With that being said, it's tradition for us to show off 5 titles that impacted us the most. Of course, these games did not have to be released this year to be shown off in our lists. There is no particular order, but spoiler, I kind of usually save the last one for that's usually my favorite, but you know, that's besides the point. With that, all right, I'm gonna get on with it because I can talk for fucking hours, and honestly, this video is gonna already take longer than it should. Here are my top 5 games of 2024. It's January 3rd, 2007. I'm 10 years old, and I just received a Christmas gift from my dad's friend that will forever change my gaming career. Counter-Strike Anthology 1. Yeah, I know at 2007, I'm a little late to the game, but just hear me out, okay? From there, I started with Counter-Strike 1.6, and for months, I played this game, and then I found out, hey, there's a better version of this game out there called Counter-Strike Source. So I begged my mom for her credit card to spend some of that juicy Christmas money on a collection that came with Counter-Strike Source, Day of Defeat, and of course a little known game called Half-Life 2. While Counter-Strike was my first foray into PC gaming, Half-Life 2 is easily one of the most influential games to me as a whole. I learned so much at like 11 years old about how to load your own skins, custom guns, and overhauls. The game crashed like all the time because my family PC was a little too old and dog shit to run it, so I would eventually learn to kind of like build Frankenstein PCs from old Dell Optiplexes and other spare parts I can kind of scrounge. I look back on those times of not being able to know why Half-Life would crash and wishing I had a better graphics card to play episode 2 very fondly, because I sit here now with a fucking beast ass computer with a 4090 in it. But of course, I had to come back. I had to return for its 20th anniversary. Half-Life 2 is a sequel to one of the greatest games of all time, Half-Life. It stars protagonist Gordon Giga Chad Freeman as he is taken out of his otherworldly stasis of 20 years and is placed in City 17. Almost immediately you know something isn't right. The world's inhabited by aliens known as the Combine, and the Nazi-level oppression is rampant in almost everywhere you look. Buildings are old and run down, and the streets are empty, the people are scared, technology stabs and even becomes part of the old world almost like an infection. It's obvious the humans had lost this war. The story of the game is very much you in a silent protagonist's shoes as you react to the events that's going on in the game, oftentimes going from point A to point B, and point B usually going horribly wrong. The charm of the game is the world itself and its combat and puzzles. In its 13 chapters, you span across the new world from City 17 to its coasts and attempting to save your friends and do whatever you can to put an end to the Combine. All while your captor and employer, known as the G-Man, follows your every move in the corner of your eye, watching, waiting for the right time to speak. His motivations are still unknown to this day. He placed you there and he doesn't really seem to be stopping you from destroying the Combine, but he's mysterious and kind of neutral, so it's hard to tell to this day if he's really friend or foe. Gordon Freeman is a menace and earns his title as an anti-citizen one, which is fucking cool name, by the way. That one's actually given to him by the Combine themselves, and the One Free Man by the Rebels. Donned in a glorious piece of tech, the HEV Mark IV protective suit used to protect from a range of hazardous situations, Gordon slices through the Combine like a crowbar hitting jello, dude. He's nuts. The combat in this game is amazing, with a variety of guns, vehicles, and explosives to fit just about any playstyle you're looking for. My favorite, honestly, is the double barrel shotgun, the Spaz 12, because it doesn't make any fucking sense, but the way it floors Combines is just a dopamine rush. Of course, good combat without good enemies is like beef Wellington wrapped in ass. Luckily, Half-Life nails its variety in enemies ranging from your standard run-of-the-mill Metro Cop to elite soldiers and combine technology that makes them look like bugs like the Strider and the gunships, right? The Black Mesa incident also seeped aliens into the world, such as returning enemies like the head crabs who turn people into zombies, as well as introducing new types of head crabs and what those kind of zombies turn into. We also get new creatures such as the antlions and their queen. My favorite part of this playthrough was coming back and reliving the old memories of absolutely shitting on the Combine and the gradual change you the player bring to City 17. Gordon is as much of a menace as you the player because you are Gordon Freeman, and you see how the Combine and the rebels react to your deeds from becoming hope lost to literally running the Combine down in the fucking streets. It has some problems with pacing, and I do really hate the fucking airboat parts, and some puzzles are just, they just take too long. It's really not that bad to say that this game is not a masterclass of storytelling, and it is easily one of the best games of all time. I need to stop myself because I could talk about this game for hours. It's one of my favorites, and coming back to it felt as natural as a glove. I don't want to spoil it too much. Go play it. The 20th anniversary is out now, and now comes with episodes 1 and 2 built into the game, and the game's usually dirt cheap. Treat yourself. You deserve peak. Happy 20th birthday, Half-Life 2, happy anniversary, and long live Gaben. Disco Elysium is a game that I've wanted to like for a very long time. I've had it in my library for a few years, and I've started up a few times. Each run ends within a few hours usually. Then one day this year, I saw a fan art pic of Kim Kitsuragi holding a pistol to the air, rolling 12 and dice, and the caption, "God please." Something about this picture made me want to find out the context and what was the meaning behind it. And thus, I started my 4th and actual playthrough of Disco Elysium. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert in all things Disco Elysium. I hyperfixate on lore, but this is definitely one of those games that you're not going to get everything in one playthrough. Despite that, I had a blast as Tequila Sunset, an amnesiac detective in the city of Ravishal. The story involves you waking up naked after a drunken stupor, not knowing who or where you are, but the voices in your head tell you you're basically washed up, depressed, and an alcoholic. The precinct has sent an agent to help you, Kim Kitsuragi, and you're tasked to solve the murder of a man hanged behind the hotel that you're staying at a week ago, who's actually just still up there for some fucking reason. Who, what, and why remain a mystery, and it's up to you to unravel it. Disco Elysium genuinely tells you just about the bare minimum it needs to. It's up to you, the player, to choose who you want to be and how you want to solve this murder. Want to be an asshole cop? Fuck, go ahead. Schmoozer? It's there. Communist? Why the fuck not? The game is insanely open to whatever playstyle you want to play, and its world reacts to it in very unique ways. Sometimes being a Hollywood level superstar cop has its perks. Other times you really gotta say, I am the law. My favorite parts of the game come from the voices in your head. When you start the game, you're given a list of skills inside intellect, psyche, motorics, and physique. Skill points are limited, so you have to choose which skills you want within these categories to fit your playstyle. I personally went with a more charismatic Tequila Sunset and added stuff like the skill Inland Empire to get a more otherworldly, superstitious world like Twin Peaks. These skills genuinely change how the story is presented to you because these skills are the voices in your head, and when they come up, they range from being very helpful to fucking hilarious. And that's why I say I'm not an expert at the game, nor do I pretend to. Because while the start and endings may be the same for you, the ride from start to finish definitely wasn't. It's tailored to your playstyle and reacts to how you answer these questions, get details, and even ends the game with false endings if you do certain things despite your psyche telling you not to. I think what kept me away was the lack of combat, but honestly, the people themselves in the world of Ravishal play a big role in keeping you busy with their personalities and history. I haven't quite seen a game like this in a while. It's truly a detective game that scratches an itch I never thought I had. It's unique, the director's cut voice acting is downright fan-fucking-tastic, and the payoff left me wanting more. But in a way, I kind of want to see other games emulate it a little bit more. I'm generally content with my playthrough of Disco Elysium as a whole. I got the good ending, but sadly, the studio behind the game canceled its sequel and laid off a quarter of its staff, so there's a good chance we may never see a at Disco Elysium 2. But I'd still recommend the game to anyone, especially my co-host Fee. I can't wait to find time to go back and try out different playstyles to see what I missed on my first go. And yes, did get context of that fan art, and the answer to it is way better than you would think. Oh my god, it's so hard to record and be sick. One of the casualties of the mass layoffs plaguing 2024 was a studio known as Arcane Austin, the Texas-based team from Arcane Studios who worked on two of some of my favorite games of all time, Prey and Dishonored. With their closure, I thought it'd be fitting to pay kind of a tribute and respect to the studio and go back to Dishonored for a completionist run and get all the achievements across the main campaign and its 3 DLCs, including that dumbass Void Star achievement. And while I loved it 12 years ago and still do, playing through it again gave me a new appreciation for the game that I didn't really quite have back when I was 16. The story revolves around Corvo Attano, the royal protector to the Empress Jessamine Caldwin, and of course he was hitting that. After her assassination and abduction of her and your daughter, Corvo is framed for the assassination and you're dishonored. Get it? Stripped of your title and sent to the Gulag where you are awaiting your beheading. 6 months later, after escaping the prison with the help from the rebels, a man known as the Outsider bestows upon you his mark that allows you to use mystic powers and a geared up beating heart that belonged to the late Empress that fucking talks to you. Yeah, this game gets grim. And you're off to prove your innocence or show the world how revenge can solve everything. Dishonored is and always will be one of my favorite stealth games of all time. I remember watching the original trailer for this game and seeing Corvo scale the rooftops of Dunwall using mystic powers and breezing through the guards. The outfit sold me too. You know I love a good mask, and the hooded, long coated figure with the skull face and magnified eyes was the fucking dopamine rush I needed. The trailer sold me, and I remember taking a day off of school and standing outside GameStop waiting for them to open the doors so I can grab a copy. I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit you and say that I'm an expert at Dishonored's combat, because I'm not. I primarily play this game as stealthy as possible, so ghost, never seen, no kills, and even the targets, right? I do like its fast-paced sword, gun, and gadget gameplay, and I did have to get good at it to do the Dunwall City Trials DLC, like the achievements for expert and everything. I do prefer its slow, methodical thinking and making my way through the guards and citizen without killing if I can. I just think it's a fun challenge. Dishonored has a really cool system behind that and why you should play in a stealth-oriented way, at least in your first playthrough. And that, of course, is the chaos system. Now, morality systems aren't really new, but I like how the world of Dishonored reacts to your actions. The way the citizens and your targets talk about you, the amount of rats in the world, wanted posters, the way your sword looks, and of course, the endings are some of the ways the world shows you that. It is a bit controversial because the game really does want you to go down that good and stealth route, but facilitates some really cool powers and equipment for high chaos routes. You just can't use any of it if you want the good ending. The world of Dishonored is so goddamn interesting. Every time I come back to this title, I learn a little bit more and more about the world and its intricacies. The style of the steampunk world mixed with that Victorian era architecture and characters was a style that was so unique at the time. The art direction in this game was simply amazing in a time where every studio was trying their damn hardest to make everything look so realistic. Dishonored sought to make everyone look stylized and distinct in their world. The kind of cartoony caricatures really make for some great representations of citizens and its workers in a hard, rat-infested world versus the upper class who's elegant and far away from the plague down below them. And of course, between them is the paranatural watching in the distance, kind of picking and choosing when to make their plays. Kind of like G-Man from Half-Life 2. Going back and sinking another 55 hours into this game was downright the right call, man. It was bittersweet, but in the end, kind of cathartic. While Arcane Lion had a stake in the original Dishonored, Austin led the production, and while Lion led Dishonored 2, Dishonored 2 has its moments. It just doesn't hit the same level as Dishonored 1 did. The world craves more immersive sims and stealth games, and sadly, we lost a studio that did both nearly perfectly. Thanks, Arcane Austin. Honestly, you will truly, truly be missed. After the sheer adrenaline rush and momentum that I felt after 100%ing Dishonored and Dead Space, I went back and looked at some of my achievements and realized I haven't finished Metal Gear Solid 5's achievements. And that's unheard of. I'm the so-called MGS lore guy. I eat, shit, and breathe Metal Gear Solid. I can't be a poser, so I did it. All of them. S-Rank and even the dumb blueprint achievement that requires you to basically 100% the game. Then I did Ground Zeroes, and after that I remembered back to Metal Gear Solid, a show on our channel with Harv, Mario, and I was telling Harv about the challenge runs people do on the original titles, big boss runs. Extreme difficulty, certain time limit, usually 3 hours, limited saves, never seen, no kills, usually limited how many times you can heal. It's brutal, without mercy, and when I told Harv about it, I laughed it off as something I could never do and never have done. It was just out of my skill range and patience, and I left it alone there. Or did I? All the footage from here on out is actually from my personal runs of Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. After 5 and Ground Zeroes, I really sat down and thought about it. I decided if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it backwards. I kind of just really wanted to play Metal Gear Solid 3, to be honest, and I did a dry run at MGS3 after beating it on hard and getting close to the time requirements for Foxhound, the big boss equivalent of Metal Gear Solid 3. I realized that it was actually possible for me to do it, and thus the second run was it. European Extreme, no kills, never seen, 3 life bars, no continues, less than 25 saves in under 5 hours. It felt amazing and glorious getting it the second time around. After finishing it up and getting all the achievements for 3, I was feeling like I had this whole thing in the bag and set my sights on MGS2. MGS2 was indeed in the bag, but the difficulty hike from Foxhound rank in 3 to Big Boss in 2 has to be studied because holy fucking shit. The sheer challenge MGS2 brings to the table was enough for me to almost say fuck this challenge and not die of an anger-induced aneurysm. Seriously, MGS2 is a fun game, but Extreme MGS2 is a totally different beast. Bosses in MGS3 were still manageable, minus the Fury who actually gave me some trouble. Everyone else was actually pretty easy to get through. Every boss in MGS2 is a fucking nightmare. They're nothing like how they are in easy and normal. They don't stop. Their attacks either 1 or 2 shot you without a problem. They're faster, they change their patterns to make it even more difficult to be ready for the onslaught you're about to endure. You remember the Ray fight? You're on hard and you're maybe taking out 12. On normal, 6. Extreme attacks you with taking out 20 rays. And that would all be fine and dandy if the requirements for Big Boss weren't so goddamn sadistic. You have to complete the tank plant chapters in one go under 3 hours. You can only fire 700 total shots, 3 alert phases, which all of them are scripted, 0 kills, 0 continues, 0 rations, no radar or special items. I fucking barely got this done. I almost got screwed on time and the shots fired, but after that and some motivational speeches to myself and a few table punches, I achieved one of the hardest challenges in MGS history, big bossing MGS2. And at this point, I didn't want to clean up the rest of the achievements, but I had to. That means 4 or 5, I can't remember, playthroughs to get the goddamn dog tags for the stealth suit and the wigs, and of course, VR missions. God damn it, the VR missions. I'm angry just thinking about this bullshit. And with that, I set my sights on the last of the series, MGS1. MGS1 was difficult, but not necessarily as hard as MGS2, but definitely more difficult than 3. The requirements also aren't that bad. Under 3 hours, extreme, 1 ration, 4 or fewer alerts. I think all of them are scripted, 25 or less kills, and the best part, under 80 saves, which is the saving grace of the run. That being said, the bosses in this are MGS2 levels of quick and dirty. The 1 ration rule really makes it hard when you have like 2 parts in the game where you get healed by the game. It makes you think where and when you can use that 1 heal, and it's a tough choice, especially when the bosses are knocking 25 to 50% off of your health per hit. My standout fight was Gray Fox. I've never, ever seen a more brutal difficulty version of this fight. It is lore accurate Gray Fox. He does not stop attacking and will not give you an opening. There's definitely tricks needed to be learned for each of these bosses to optimize time and get you to that 3 hour mark. It takes time and learning for each of these bosses to get them down, especially health wise. But eventually I got to the end and almost missed it by like 5 minutes and 1 kill. I did another playthrough, cleaned up VR missions, and with that, MGS1 was in the bag. It felt like I finally come full circle. I finally did it. The game that started me out on gaming and its sequels completed. Done and dusted. I achieved what I thought I never could do. I got my eyes on Metal Gear Solid 4 when that eventually gets released, but for right now, I'm content with displaying all of the games in the Master Collection with every achievement. I wear the Big Boss patch with pride and sit proud with the group of individuals that were fucked in the head enough to be able to do this themselves too. I'll be back for Volume 2 MGS, but for right now, I think I've earned a break. I've talked extensively of how much I love Stalker and how it introduced me to the Slav jank side of gaming. Stalker and its mods, Anomaly and Gamma, are my comfort games. I go back every now and again and do a playthrough and mod the shit out of it. The zone feels like a second home and its map is second nature, and at one point it was all I thought I ever needed. GSC World was gone and their code released for modders to create their own personal zones. Stalker 2, which was cancelled back in 2012, felt like a pipe dream, and even if some random studio picked it up, it just wouldn't be Stalker. Then, one E3 during Microsoft's conference, a trailer that looked like another Metro game had a steel door with the words GSC Game World on it. I initially didn't even think about it because it didn't even hit me at that time. That's the Stalker dev. Stalker is fucking back, and we bared witness to a game and its studio come back from the dead of E3 of all places. It felt weird seeing Stalker, a game so cult classic-y, be shown off to a bunch of people who probably just thought it was a Metro clone. But seeing Pripyat and its zone and its anomalies was just about enough to bring a tear to my eye. Stalker was fucking back, man. The development of this game has been rough for obvious reasons. GSC World being a Ukrainian studio and the war that's currently going on with Russia led to numerous delays and relocation. It is legitimately a fucking miracle that this game has even been released at all, with the studio suffering actual casualties in this production. I give studios shit all the time for the state of some of these games and the way they're released, but throughout its development and knowing Stalker is kind of a glitchy mess anyway to begin with, I had high hopes for Stalker 2 even if people weren't ready for it to be released as a glitchy mess. Finally, on November 20th, 2024, 12 years after cancellation, Stalker 2 was available for all of us to play, not just on PC, even the consoles. The launch had some issues, of course, with some Russian channels even talking mad shit on the game, trying to make it seem like it was worse than it was. It had problems, but in no way was it on level of like Cyberpunk level of like broken. At least on PC, the game ran fine for me, and I was able to sink hours upon hours into the zone. One of the things I noticed and still notice is that I was initially apprehensive about Stalker going mainstream. With it being on the Microsoft floor and releasing on consoles, I had my reservations that a new entry might go the route of an action Call of Duty shooter, and at the very worst, a clone of like everything that emulated like Tarkov. Instead, I was happy and surprised to see that GSC Game World remembered what made Stalker Stalker. Stalker 2's story is pretty good with some emphasis on choices and branching paths. The OG Stalker games had decent stories, but other than some bomb-ass twists, they're not really winning any awards for it. And Stalker 2's story and structure is a better step in that direction with a story that's more clear and with subtitles because the original games didn't really have them. It's clear that the story hasn't forgotten the time jump between the games and the stuff that happens in the originals, and I think that's really good. It feels good seeing the studio not forget certain characters or even wildly change them to the point where they're totally different characters altogether. Skiff as a character feels truly like a new Stalker that's brand new to the zone, playing through as a rookie and learning about the events like the Brain Scorcher or what happens to Beard's Vote and Skavosk. It feels fresh but also respects that you played the last 3 games or might not have. The zone is the same zone but fully realized with the world's map being fully accessible. Kind of like how Anomaly and Gamma with no loading points in between them. The world is dark but in a beautiful way, filled with monsters, anomalies, and people just walking around. Recognizable landmarks are still there if you remember areas where there was previously loot. Sometimes you're rewarded for that. Something about the care and detail of the history and lore behind these games is oddly satisfying. Most of the time you see a sequel or a revival of franchise, it's so hell-bent on making it modern that it forgets why people loved it in the first place and winds up pushing its original fan base far, far away from it. Stalker never does that, and it feels like a true sequel to its originals. I don't want to spoil too much, but the combat's really good. The A-Life system needs a little bit more work, but they've been working on it a little bit ever since the game released. The animations are amazing, and honestly, the lighting with HDR looks fucking breathtaking. And the one thing I love to do in Stalker is hunt anomalies, and they are fun as shit to hunt. This is another game I can talk about for hours, and honestly, I'm way past my quota on this video, so I will end it with this. If anyone needs your support and deserves it, I would wholeheartedly recommend GSC World and Stalker 2. It's insane how deep and expansive this game is without going the way of Fallout 76 in terms of jank. It works, and GSC World is working very hard every update to make sure the game gets better and better. Welcome back from the dead, GSC Game World. I hope Stalker 2 is appreciated enough to see many, many sequels to come. Never never, ever forget who you are. And with that, 2024 is now dead as shit. What an amazing year for new titles and a great year to sit back and revisit some old ones. Thank you once again for hanging out with me as I ramble and go way over my allotted time. Seriously, I think I went a little bit overboard this year. Sorry, Carla, sorry. 2025 is slated to have some incredible games to be released, and I cannot wait to not shut up about them. And with that, progress has been made.